We're excited that the Hotworks Orchard Lake Fine Art Show is coming back here locally to the West Bloomfield area at the end of this month. And with that, joining us on the show, Patty Narozny. She's the founder and executive producer for the show, and also Cherie Haney. She's one of the meadow artists that will have her works featured at this year's Fine Art Show. But with that, thank you both for being with us. With that, if we can, Patty, let's go ahead and start things off with you. Are you excited? The show is back.
Well, of course, we're excited. We are planning this event in 7 weeks. Oh. Unlike usually 8 months to a year that we have to plan the event, it's turning out to be wonderful. Thank God for Michigan reopening and allowing our outdoor events to continue to happen for this summer. We are so excited. I want to mention that we were voted now top 100 art shows in America for the last 10 years in a row from 2010 to 2020. And an example is Cherie Haney, one of the excellent award-winning artists that we'll have participating in the Orchard Lake Fine Art Show July 24 and 25.
So with that, Patty, 7 weeks, how do you pull it all together?
Well, I pulled 9 shows together in Florida to continue our art shows when the entire rest of the country was shut down between 7 days to 4 weeks. So it's a matter of connections. It's a matter of team playing. It's a matter of your relationships, your reputation, and the history of the event is phenomenal. So we have so much support, not only from West Bloomfield, but we need to thank the city of Pontiac, Kego Harbor, Waterford, and Commerce Township, who all helped make this event a success.
That's great to know. And if I can ask you, was it easier to get and to find artists to participate this year? Because so many of them, were on the bench last year during COVID, but they also use that time to create more artwork.
Many of the artists spent time to create the artwork. We've lost artists. It'll be a smaller show. We'll still end up with about 110 to 120 artists compared to 140 to 150 that we have. But more of the reasoning is because of schedules or because of our elderly artists. Number one is we have to protect the vulnerable. And with the Orchard Lake Fine Art Show, many of our artists have 40, 50 years experience creating their art. Those people are in their 70s and 80s, and we have a lot of them actually participating in this show, but many of them had to stop doing shows. It's a matter of personal preference. Number one is to protect the vulnerable.
Safety is always first. Cherie, if I can kind of bring you in to the conversation now, as an artist, what's the past year been like for you?
Well, it was a different year than any other year I've experienced, but I had a lot of time to work in the studio, and I could take my time with things. Like, I wasn't rushing from show to show, so I kept working in the making processes and kind of built on learning some new stuff, and I had time to play and change things up a bit. So yeah, just a lot more time, and I could make my artwork in a more relaxed and easy manner. And maybe I have some really great pieces to start this season with, because the pieces that I made over last year are certainly a lot more involved.
So with that, is that some of the artwork behind you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The
artwork behind me is a part of what I'll be bringing to Orchard Lake Art Fair.
How do you start a creation, or does it evolve as you're working on it?
Well, I call myself an assembler. So it evolves as I'm working on it. It's a number of stages where I start with a foreground, which is maybe these shape accumulations back here where I'm cutting shapes and I'm finding ways to stack and balance them together. And then I decide what size I'm going to make it. I make the frame for it, which is a TIG welded aluminum frame. And then once I have all that, I start manipulating the background and creating pieces for the background. It includes leather, several layers of enamel paint on aluminum, and patinaed copper.
So, if I can ask you, Cherie, again, we're speaking to award-winning metal artist Cherie Haney. She will be displaying her artwork at the Hotworks Orchard Lake Fine Arts Show. If I can ask you, throughout the pandemic, because of so many of the art shows and art fairs being canceled, across the state of Michigan, have you had to pivot, that word that we're all so tired of? Have you had to change how you operate the business side as an artist?
Absolutely. Yeah, that really changed. And I was fortunate enough to have somebody who lives in the household that was very technologically advanced and helped me update, build new websites, get on the social media hub. We even put out YouTube videos. We tried a lot of things, and definitely there was a big learning curve to that, and there's a lot to getting that going. It's not something that you can get up and running in a year, but I was making intermediate sales that was enough to, pay the mortgage and kind of keep things rolling. So I wasn't moving ahead like I would be if I were doing the art shows, but I was bringing in enough to pay the bills and like stay stable without panicking.
So will some of those new skills that you've learned in your social media sites and the website, will you be continuing to utilize that going forward?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's going to integrate really well with the shows, because now, with what I've learned is that you can't just sit back and go to a show and expect the promoter to do everything. Patty does a really great job with that. All the promoters do a really great job with that. But it's really important for me to be in contact with my followers and my base and also bring those people in. And that makes a big difference. That I've seen that. So now I'm, at the beginning of every show, I'm putting a video of my booth together. I've got my email blasts going out about my current schedule and where I'll be, summarizing what I'll be bringing, maybe highlighting a new work or two that's going to be shown at that show. So, and also I am putting a lot more effort into gathering emails and contacts so that if something like this happens before, I can be personally in contact with my followers and people, that my collectors that are buying my work.
So with that, Patty, can I ask, sometimes art can be intimidating to us that are not very artistic, but when they go to an art show, what should they look for? Is there something for everyone?
The Orchard Lake Fine Art Show makes a point to be sure that there is something for everyone, because we understand that everyone doesn't have $500 or $5,000 to spend on art. So we have items from $25 on up, so that especially we can bring in new collectors or people who feel intimidated to start buying something handmade, original, start appreciating it, and they actually end up purchasing larger pieces usually. So we also allow a certain percentage, a small percentage of the booth. Cherie has all originals as an example, but for example, there are maybe painters or photographers who have prints where someone can come in and buy a beautiful print for $50 or $100. And what we find out is in 5 to 10 years, that person ends up buying an original piece from that same artist. And I want to say that during this epidemic, now more than ever, we have found out the importance of our art shows and the importance especially of the patron building the relationship with the artist. They become friends. Sometimes many of them become family members where they become so close. Some of our traveling artists end up spending the nights at some of their customers' homes. They're invited to stay and have meals. And that's something that the pandemic took away, is that personal one-on-one relationship that can never be replaced with anything virtual.
That is so true. Virtual is convenient in so many situations, but it doesn't spark the organic conversations and organic connections that can turn into lifelong friendships. And with that, Patty, can I ask, like, if someone is going to an art show, uh, what should they look for? How do you pick a piece of art?
Something they love.
Simple as that.
Yep. And I want to say, like, Cherie's work, for example, looks great. When you go to the show, it's going to even be so much more compelling with the visual eye. Again, the virtual doesn't translate the what the visual eye translate. Her pieces pop. They are so gorgeous. The colors are gorgeous. The detail, the work that she is involved. She takes the time with every single piece to make sure every little detail is in place. And you can see her beautiful work behind her. But when you're at the show, you're going to see even how more beautiful it is.
You're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. We're talking with Patty Narozny. She's the founder and executive producer for the Hot Works Orchard Lake Fine Arts Show, which is coming up here at the end of July. She's also the president and volunteer for the Institute for Arts and Education. Patty, can I ask you, how do we get young kids involved and really develop them into our future artists?
Well, 15 years ago, I noticed many of the elderly artists were fading out, that the schools weren't necessarily teaching the art students business side of selling their art. So as part of our commitment to bring art into the community, we having integrated, the program started with our Orchard Lake Fine Art Show. We integrate a youth art competition within the show. This year's program is sponsored by Raymond James and Association, one of our sponsors who supported us from last year when the show was canceled, and we want to thank them for staying with us during this year. And we encourage students, it's for grades K through 8 or ages 5 to 13, to enter their original and personally handmade art, which is a program where we have $350 in youth art awards. We have 8 awards. The kids get the same beautiful, gorgeous 2-foot-long ribbon that the professional artists receive at the show. And on Sunday at 3 p.m., Sunday, July 25th, during the event, under the Raymond James Youth Art Competition tent, we'll have a presentation with the 8 winners, and it's a little educational experience where the students start to learn the rules and become exposed to the entrepreneurship opportunity of doing art shows for a living.
We are all so happy that the art show is coming back. It is really a favorite for the community here and beyond as well. And I know, Patty, it's been a tough year for you as well. So we appreciate all the work that you're doing into bringing this art show back. Quickly, give the information. When I know it's July 24th and 25th, where is it and what is the admission cost?
Yeah, and we want to thank West Bloomfield Township for supporting us. Steve Kaplan, Debbie Binder, and the entire community. They're very important. They support this show 150%, and that's what helps make the event a success. So the show is located in West Bloomfield, off Orchard Lake Road, south of Maple, on Powers and Daly Road. There is plenty of free patron parking in the last back half of the parking lot behind Beaumont Medical Center, located at 6900 Orchard Lake Road between 14 and 15 Mile. If they drive all the way in the back of the medical center, it'll take them right up to the front of the entrance of the show off Daly Road. There's $5 admission, 13 and under are free. Families of the youth art competition get a family pass to return, and that helps support programs within Institute for the Arts and Education, the Professional Artist Awards. The youth art program helps pay for the cost from last year that we're still paying for, that we never recouped. Helps major bills for this event, and 13 and under are free. So we hope to see everyone. It's a beautiful show. Say hello when you're there. See art, love art, buy art. See you there.
Well, thank you to the both of you. We so appreciate your time. And Cherie, best of luck. Your artwork is beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Cherie.
No problem. Good to see you.
Thanks, Ronnie, and Civic Center TV for supporting the show, too. You guys are always rock and roll.